Medical Advisory Committee, University of Alabama Teaching Hospital. He has a private hospital, his own, and he's a visiting consultant to 2 other hospitals, one in Kosovo, one in Akwa Ibom State. You can see he's a very busy person. This is in the person of Professor Ogbu and Ngim. You're welcome.
Praise the Lord. Let me start by thanking the LOC for finding me worthy to be in this very high-powered panel. It's always been very exciting for me to be involved in CMDA activities, having been there from creation. And like the moderator has said, when you are growing up, you will think you'll be able to do many things for life. One of those things I wish I'm able to do as I did when I was young is being everywhere CMDA is having a program. Many times you are not able to do so. We want to briefly look at the issue of physician burnout. And that has been defined as a long-term stress reaction marked by emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and the lack of sense of personal accomplishment. And I would like you to take note of those 3 words: emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and lack of sense of personal accomplishment. It's measured using what is called the Maslach Burnout Inventory. Christina Maslach and Okoh pioneered research in this area. This MBI is an introspective psychological inventory consisting of 22 items which they use to assess occupational burnout. Since its first publication, 5 versions of it has appeared, and it's used to assess burnout in different groups. You can administer it to an individual. You can also administer it to a group to assess how they are in the scale of being burnout. It measures 3 dimensions of this burnout. One is emotional exhaustion. The other is depersonalization. And we'll get into them very quickly. The other one is a sense of lack of personal accomplishment. And please, next slide. Next slide. Well, essentially, this Maslach Burnout Inventory is used to assess professional burnout in human services organizations like health, education, business, and government, amongst the professionals. It assesses and validates these 3 dimensions of burnout we've explained, and it helps us to understand the nature of burnout and what can be done to correct it. Next slide, please. What does the scale for the burnout inventory consist We have emotional exhaustion. What does it mean to be emotionally exhausted? Anytime you have this feeling of being emotionally overextended and exhausted at your work, the inventory, the scale that measures it, contains a 9-item question, and the answers to it will help one to rate you as to whether you have become emotionally exhausted at your work. In the health sector context, it is associated with work overload. The higher the scores, the greater the experience of burnout. This scale is used both in the health sector and amongst medical personnel and in education services. Next slide, please. All right. Next slide. Depersonalization measures unfeeling and impersonal response toward recipients of one's work. Each time, let's say you are sitting down in the clinic consulting, and there is this, you don't have any feeling for the patient before you, and there is no personal connection with the person. You are just doing an impersonal thing. You know, you are depersonalized. And in the health sector, this manifests like lack of empathy. And you know what it can mean to render a health service without empathy. When I was young, I was told wrongly that nurses are very wicked. If you go to the hospital, they will shout at you and all that. They don't care. They are not wicked. It's just that perhaps something has removed that personal touch. Maybe they have seen patients like you so much that it doesn't really matter when you are screaming or pain. Now, using that MBI inventory, higher scores correspond to greater degrees of experiencing burnout. Next slide. Now, personal accomplishment is an 8-item questionnaire that measures feelings of competence and successful achievement in one's work with people. And in our context, just like our zonal president was addressing us, this measures skills, knowledge, your dexterity at your work. And you find out that when you lack it, you cannot really face your clients, especially in these days of the internet. Many people have become so well educated in terms of health. They come to you with knowledge and they can challenge you. And when you are not skilled, you can easily burn out. Lower scores on this scale correspond to greater experienced burnout. Alright, next slide. How do we score this Maslach burnout inventory? It is a 7-level frequency scale from never to dead. The initial development had 3 components: emotional exhaustion, which I have explained has 9 items. Depersonalization had 5 items, and personal achievement had 8 items. Each scale measures its own unique dimension of burnout, and it is not advised that you combine those scales in order to have one mosaic scale. Like I explained, it is a 7-frequency scale from 0 to 6. Some people have questioned the addition of 0 because conventionally, when you do this kind of Likert scaling, it's not advised to use 0. But those who developed it designed it this way, and a lot of study that has been done, it has a lot of reliability, and it has been validated over the years. Now, some people have tried to use 1 to 7 instead of 0 to 6. The disadvantage that has been found in that is that when you use 1 to 7, it makes your findings incomparable with what has been done over the years, and it also overshoots those who are on the higher scores. You know, you overrate them, and they may not be as bad as they appear. So when you ask the question, for instance, do you have a feeling of you lack skill in the work you are doing? Has it ever come across to you? What frequency? Go back to that slide, and the person says never. It has a score of 0. The person says a few times a year or less. The person scores 1. Once a month or less. The person scores 2. A few times a month. The person scores 3. Once a week. The person scores 4. And a few times a week. The person scores 5. And every day, it's an everyday experience. Person scores 6. So when you finish and you add up, the higher the score, the more burnout the person is. Now, what are the workplace conditions that leads to burnout? 1, time pressure / clinic demands. And we are all very familiar with this. When you are running a very busy clinic, I can imagine Dr. Mrs. Sanjay in Abakaliki when Lassa fever breaks out. She runs a busy clinic in her clinic, and everybody is calling her that there is a Lassa patient. And you know, when there is a Lassa patient, there may be 20 to 30 suspects, and you are supposed to review all of them and arrive at the diagnosis whether this is a probable case, a suspected case, a confirmed case, and how you are going to do all of that. A chaotic work environment. We are then facing this chaotic environment in our place of work. No thanks to Johes and our useless and unnecessary interprofessional conflict that is trying to engulf this country. Higher medical, please go back to that slide. Low control over workplace. For those of you who go to theater, for instance, or even in your clinic as a physician, you may not be able to control the pace at which you are working because some other people are supposed to do something. Every day my wife, she has theater sessions on certain days, and she will leave 7 o'clock in the morning because I want knife on skin by 7:30. And then I'll go to check her out around 12 and to ask how were your surgeries. She will just take a deep sigh Do you know I have not even started? There was no this, or the nurse didn't do that, or there's no blood, or there's no light, and that kind of a thing. You cannot control the pace of your work. Unfavorable organizational culture. This has become a very important theme that has crept into medicine. It started with the high definition industries like the aviation industry, organizational culture. You know, a culture where if there is medical errors, the mindset is that of punishment other than correction. It breeds burnout. We are encouraging that when there is a medical error, there should be the environment should be such that people will freely report errors. Let it be investigated and let the correction go down to the roots. You know, so when there is an unfavorable organizational culture, people get to burn out very easily. Then paperwork. For those of us in public, many times, people are asked to report, and you are doing a lot of paperwork. You are seeing your patient, you are filling some forms, you are doing that, and it can be crazy sometimes. So people have advocated for replacement of paperwork with electronic medical records. That is actually the direction many people are going. The research has also shown that the electronic medical records themselves have their own issues and are also leading to burnout. Maintaining work-life balance, and particularly for women, is an issue, even for a man. Yesterday, I was talking with my son, who is a resident in Lagos, and we were talking about 11 p.m. And it is very common with him. And I will just ask him, because I know the answer. I said, I used to be in the hospital, he would take a deep sigh. I'm still in the hospital. He would tell me all of the things that are happening. I will tell him, please enjoy it now, because very soon you may run into trouble. When you get married, your wife will rightly demand a pound of flesh from you, want you to be at home at a certain point in time. So maintaining work-life balance could lead to burnout. What are the effects of this physician burnout? Very often associated with lower patient satisfaction and care quality, higher medical error rates and malpractice risk, higher physician turnover. We've seen many doctors leave their practice, stop practicing medicine, and move over to other works in life. It could lead to physician substance abuse, slash addiction, and studies have also demonstrated that it leads to physician suicide. Next slide. Can we have the next slide? Most studies for the prevalence of this physician burnout, unfortunately, most studies are in US based and West European based. So, but globally, what is appearing is that the prevalence of physician burnout is rising. A study that was done in 2017 showed that 63% of family physicians in US met the criteria for burnout, whereas 54.4% of other physicians met the criteria for burnout. Generally, it's been noted that physicians have higher rates of burnout compared with other workers in US. They also had a 10% increase in burnout from 2011 to 2014, whereas other professional groups had no such increase. It was also demonstrated that physicians work 10 hours more a week than others on a median score. If you arrange the length of hours that they spend a week, and the median is that the physicians work 10 hours more than other professionals. And when you compare them with other people, 41.8% versus 6.4% of physicians compared to other workers work 60 hours or more a week. So already we are overworked, and all of this contributes. So what are the interventions that have been suggested by research how to overcome this burnout? The first is to address complex issues of the health system at the health system level. In our context today in Nigeria, what are some of our complex issues? Interprofessional conflicts, remunerations, maybe residents, people intending to be residents, finding residency places, and then those who are already residents being able to graduate. Work structure. I usually say to younger doctors, I remember when I was a medical student, and I think older doctors here will agree with me. When you go on ward round with your consultant, you come into the ward, the chief will go and go to the cubicle where the ward sister stays, and they exchange such pleasantries. And the sister will get up and call her tea, and they take their notes, accompany you for the ward round. And as the ward round is taking place, they are taking their notes. What to do after the ward round as per doctor's instructions. And then many times when the ward round finishes, the sister will invite us to that cubicle for tea with some good biscuits. These days, the doctor goes to round, he's on his own. And when you finish, the nurse will do her own round. And the pharmacist will come and do his own round. And very soon, the cleaners will come and do their own round. So these are some complex issues that we need to address at the health system level. We must deal with, please go back to that slide, we must deal with inefficiency and improve workflow. 2013, I was on sabbatical in Shell. We had an experience. When I arrived, then when you arrive, they will ask you what you want to do. You write it down, do proposals, it is discussed, if it is approved, then they give you money to do it. When I arrived, one of the things I told them I wanted to do was to apply some small tests of change to alter some workflows. You know? Incidentally, it was my colleague who implemented that program. What was happening? Shell had a hospital, a health center they converted to almost a tertiary care hospital because of the community health insurance scheme they were implementing. That health center became so busy. They were doing a lot of secondary healthcare services in that health center, Ogbonnaya Cottage Hospital. And women will come as early as 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to queue in for antenatal care or infant welfare or whatever, and they will be leaving by 7:30. So it was a madhouse, and we had to do some small tests of change to reorder the way work goes on. And it was amazing that that clinic that used to end by 7:30 ended by 3 p.m. and nobody could believe what happened. So sometimes we will need to reorder how things are done in order to make the work more efficient. Some of the interventions that has also been suggested is mindfulness for refraining. And I'm seeing your time. I'll end before your 2 minutes. So mindfulness simply means being aware, fully aware of what you are doing and appreciating the impact of that your action. And it makes us more curious and encourages us to ask why. And mindfulness helps you to know that what you are doing has a lot of impact on some other person. And there are 6 simple steps for you to achieve mindfulness. One of the things recommended is that you must be interested in, as a doctor, that patient before you. For instance, the patient is telling you a history and you are answering a phone call. You know, it can be very discouraging. And you're not paying attention. You have to be interested. Don't just be interested. Be interested in that person. And there are just some simple steps to developing this mindfulness that has been suggested in literature. And reframing just means changing your perspective of looking at things, how you look at things. The way I can describe it is what the difference between half full and half empty. You know, some people's mindset is this cup is half empty. We are advised to develop this mindset of this cup is half full. It helps you to retain self-confidence and to believe in people. The way you just take a second thought about what somebody has done or what somebody has said. Think about it again before you take a reaction. You know, and all of the steps that have been recommended to us, when you open the scriptures and look at them, you will find out that what we are taught as Christians is far superior to the steps that research has recommended. For instance, in this mindfulness, some of the things they talk about is taking time out. You know, sharing with your colleagues. In some groups, they say everybody has a birth date. On each person's birthday, just take out time and share. Enjoy your meal. Know the meal you like, and take out time to enjoy your meal. Some of us are so busy that we hardly eat. You know, so these are some of the things that has been reported in literature. I want to thank you for listening. I will not go through the whole talk. There are some slides I have not mentioned, but maybe as we discuss in the panel, some of the issues will come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof, for the presentation. At this point, we want to give opportunity to our panelists to tell us their experiences. Like we started at the beginning, we told us how busy they are. We'd like to know from them, because this topic is not just about the burnout. When you now begin to discover these things like Prof has presented in his presentation, how do you go about it? How do you cope? We want to look at how our panelists have been coping with these busy schedules that we have. And we would like to start first with our first panelist, Professor Ogbu. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to appreciate the conveners of this program, and Prof has actually given us a lot of insight into the burnout. I'll just mention a few things. It's supposed to be an interactive session. As we talk, we will be able to say more. Well, one of the things I like to start with is to say that when you become very busy, it means in one way or the other you are a leader of sorts. And John Maxwell will tell you that leadership means influence. I like to refer us to what we generally call the Jethro principle. We are all Christians. And I think in dealing with this topic, we should look at it from the perspective of the scripture. If we look at the book of Exodus chapter number 18, we read the whole of that scripture, and also look at the book of Acts of the Apostles chapter number 6, from 2 to 3, you will discover that Moses, at a point, he felt he was doing very well by sitting from morning till night to judge the people. While there were men that had capacity to do certain aspects of the work, but he was doing it all alone. So one of the principles I apply is the Jethro principle, where you have to build teams, build up people, show people what to do, so that when you are not there, that what has to be done can still be done, to the extent that it can be done as though you were physically present. But if you have the mindset of only me, I alone, you are really going to burn out very fast. So let's apply the Jethro principle, get teams working, and after you've gotten the team to work, you must also identify your own role in the team. What am I supposed to do? There are certain things that may not be done except you are around. Let me give you an instance. I'm a surgeon by training. It is not every surgical procedure I allow my residents to do. There are some that I will tell them I have to be in theater when this one is going on. You should be able to prioritize and know the capacity of those, your team members, what they can do and what they are unable to do, so that you can factor in your time to be available when they are to do it. There are times we have had to defer certain cases because my schedule does not permit that to happen. Not emergencies. But emergencies, I have to be around, whatever the situation is. Now, if we prioritize, as an administrator right now, as the CMAC of the hospital here, the work of the CMAC is very tedious. If anybody has been one before, you will know that it is very tedious. You run the hospital basically. The phone calls are back to back most times. Meetings are almost back to back and all that. But we must prioritize. If I have mails, there are certain mails that are urgent, there are others that are not as urgent. So you must tell your secretary, for instance, select the mail. Let me have the very urgent ones, and the other ones I can treat probably later. Some are treated very quickly, but one thing you must do is to avoid piling up your work. As a policy, I finish all the mails on that same day. I clear my table so that I don't have carryover the following day. But when you travel and you come back, it's another thing entirely. You must then create time within 48 hours to clear your table, otherwise you run into a lot of trouble. So what I'm saying is that you must prioritize, build a team first of all, identify your own role in that team. And again, you must also focus on the goal. Every day you have a goal. You should have a goal, what you want to achieve. And be able to organize what you need to do. As Christians, your commitment to God is very important. As much as possible, however juicy the offer is, on my fellowship days, I have no plan for any other thing. On that day, I don't accept emergencies at my primary place of assignment. Every other one, I tell them on this day, I'm not available. You should also come to the point where you can learn to say no concerning your time. So have time for God, your relationship with God, and then time for your family. Most times it's actually difficult to balance, to create a balance, but you must be able to say no to certain things. I just want to correct an impression. I don't visit a Bible for anything. But I have been approached and put under very serious pressure by one of the very modern hospitals in that place. Some of us know the hospital. But I have had to say no to them. Rather, they send their patients from there to me in Calabar. And I treat them and send them back. Because the stress of the journey alone is something with my busy schedule I cannot take. When I was put under so much pressure by this hospital, big hospital, I told them with my schedule, I cannot, irrespective of what you are offering me, I'm not interested in the money. I rather called a colleague of mine from Port Harcourt and said, these people need my services, but I can't offer, I don't have the time. You go and do it. And he went. They were ready to come pick me, put me in the hotel and all that, but I said no. So you must come to a point where you can say no to certain things. That I don't have the time, you must also create time to rest. Before this meeting, I left the hospital not quite long. He knows when I called him to know exactly when I should come. I had to go rest for at least 20 minutes before coming for this meeting. What am I trying to say? I try to balance my time. There's something else. At the level where you are, people look up to you to probably attend all their child education, wedding, all sorts of ceremonies. I use the weekends to rest. So when you send some of those things, I will look at it. You must be able to choose which one I can go for and for how long. Those who know, if I come, if I manage to come, then it will be for a period of time, because while you are making somebody happy, you are burning out. And you should be able to say, I always used to tell my junior doctors that you must be well enough, strong enough to see the next patient. Don't burn yourself to the point where you will now become the next patient. So be ready to say, at this moment, I need to take what? Rest. And if you rest, you'll be able to attend to more patients. I think I will just stop there so that when the question comes,
this is a set of having heard from daddy here, what to say. But you know, being a woman, I guess I have to give the perspective of the female and how we cope. I thank God the word is spoke, because in the way you say somebody is cooking, the person hasn't quite gotten there, but the person is just trying to see how the person can grapple with all that. It's really tough as a woman to be a doctor, to be a mother, a wife. Expectations are plenty. And you know, like when Ogbonnaya was talking, sometimes you look at yourself and you ask yourself, are you where you really should have been? But you know, there are sacrifices you are making because of your children. I have 3 children. Funny enough, I have 2 generations of children. One is, the first is 14, the second is 5, the third is 3. So that's 2 generations, because by the time the one is 14 is getting into the university, the ones that are younger will just be getting into primary school and primary school. So it's not funny. But you know, sometimes I look at my schedule and I'm like, maybe I should just shut off everything and just concentrate on my primary duty, which is a hospital consultant. Sometimes I'm even tempted to say, lecturing job, I'm just an adjunct lecturer, maybe I should drop it. But when I look at the need in the university, vis-a-vis, we don't have the pathologists on ground, I know that I'm needed there. So how do you cope? First thing, what I do usually is to write out, periodically I tell myself, what are the things I must do? What are the things that I must do? I'm a child of God first and foremost, so I must build my relationship with Jesus, because if once I don't do that, every other thing else will suffer. So I must take out time to study the Word of God, no matter how many minutes I spend. I must take out time to pray. So that for me is a coping strategy. I must do that. And anytime I discover that I'm so busy I don't do that, everything else just crumbles. So the second thing I know I do is I like to do a lot of writing. I just keep writing things. I tell myself these are the things I must do this week, these are the things I must do this month. Sometimes I'm not able to do so, but it gives me a guide, because when I wake up, I'm able to say, okay, these are the things I must do today. And like you rightly said, delegation of duties. I'm here now, somebody is at home taking care of the children. I've had to make 3 trips in the last 4 weeks. It's not been easy, but those trips are things, if you don't make them, you lose relevance. The dermatologist had a conference in Lagos, West African College had a conference in Abeokuta, and I'm here. So somebody must be at home to do that. So you need to have people around you that will take care of the children and will do that. But of course, you're not going to leave them for too long. So it means you have to juggle, go here, come back quickly and all that. Then, ability to say no. Like Professor Ngim said, it's not everything that I come for. If I'm in church, they know me. Once I'm done with service, they say this woman, she shares grace in her heart. Reason being that I don't want fellowship after fellowship. So once service ends, I'm out of church so that I can go home. I don't attend all activities. I try to tell myself there are some activities I must go for. Not all church activities are meant for me. Not all programs from Monday to Sunday are meant for me. Some I cannot attend. So I try to choose the ones I can attend. But what I tell myself is I must build my personal relationship with Christ, because that is what will count, and not the number of activities I go for. Praise the Lord. Then the other aspect is the aspect of taking time to rest. Like he said, sometimes 30 minutes sleep, or just putting your head on the bed, it's going to be enough. You'll be so refreshed when you get up. When we're coming to this place, I slept almost 2 hours bed. Our driver, the staff, I don't think I was really awake 3 hours after. Praise the Lord. So you take out time to rest. And then a place of exercise is something we must also remember. I don't know about others, but I know that when I try to get myself physically active, running, jogging, just as much as I can do, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I get rejuvenated. So that itself is also important. And above all, you can't solve everybody's problem. You are not Jesus Christ, you are not a great physician, you are just a physician, a surgeon, whatever it is you do in medical practice. So you can't be there all the time. You're not indispensable. So I tell myself that all the time. So because even for my children, I don't think that if I'm not there, their life will end. No. Maybe my personal experience, I lost my mother when I was 13. So I know that I'm in my 40s now. I'm not being there. Yes, you missed that. Then life went on. Praise the Lord. So the truth is that the person we need most is God. And we need Him more than any other person. So never you think that I can do it all. You cannot. God must help you and must remember His place in our lives. So if we have to do all these little things, and then sometimes I just take out time to just rest. I mean, go out, sit down somewhere, read books. You know, reading books is, for me, it expands my mind. It tells me that I'm not the only one going through this. Praise the Lord. I'm not the only one going through this. There are ways of getting past this and all that and all that. I believe that as God helps us in our walk with Him, He will tell us what to do. I'm so sure He will tell you what to do next time. When the going gets so tough, He tells you how to manage the situation. Essential thing is they're not going to be depressed. You will not even think of committing suicide. Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My colleagues have said so many things, and I'm not going to repeat what they have said. I'll just add a few other things. People often ask me, give me an appointment, when can I see you? When is the best time to see you? And that question is the most difficult question for me to answer. Because for me, every day is a life. I always say that if the Lord has been as serious about the Sabbath day and rest in those days, today as He was in those days, maybe some of us would have been put into some severe punishment by God, because Sunday has become my busiest day. As a minister of the gospel, as a father, as a husband, I didn't used to know that fathering was a job and husbanding is a job. And my wife will always tell you that she's an unashamed president of the Spoiled Wives Association. So she makes her demands on my time. And then you have to do all the other things. There's something I learned very recently. A senior colleague in the university, somebody went to give him an invitation card with a bottle of wine for his wedding. Just like Mr. Ngim said, the man laughed and said, young man, 20 years ago I decided that nobody will run my weekend anymore. I decide what to do. with my weekend, how to spend it. He just opened his drawer, brought out his purse, counted some money, put it in an envelope, and gave to the young man. So I think this is the most important thing you need. I don't have the time. I won't be able to attend. I said, really? Because you see, keeping the social network on is one of the biggest demands of our times. When people attend our events, we are very, very happy as Africans, but we really need to make the balance. Now, one thing with my busy schedule that I have tried to do is to set my priorities. Set it right. You can't do everything, you can't be everywhere. I sincerely, when I remember our exploits as students in CMDS to CMDA, sometimes I really feel sad that I'm not as visible in CMDA as I promised I will be as a student. But the demand on me from the church, for instance, I have told my president, in fact, I forced her to change our fellowship day from Wednesday to Tuesday. And on that Tuesday, I have also found myself many months unable to attend local chapter CMDA programs because of conflict of programs. So, you need to set your priorities right. Know what you need to do. The most important thing to do, there are the needful things, there are the desirable things, there are the most important, the must do. Choose the must do. Leave the needful. Leave the desirable. Because there are some other people who can do those other ones. Just like Prof. Ngim said, for instance, as a surgeon, there are surgeries you must do, or you must be there when it is going to be done. There are other things, others you can dedicate. So we must learn to do that. I do it as well. I want to talk about exercise and rest. A few years ago, I discovered that when I stand up to give lectures, after 5 minutes, it's as if something is pulling down my waist. And I must look for a table to lean on or to sit down. And when it makes me wrong, I find myself panting. And I also discovered that I was taking anti-malarials almost every month. Until somebody talked to me about exercise. I joined an exercise club. The first day I tried jogging in the stadium. I almost passed out. I couldn't run around the stadium once. They told me, don't worry, that's how it is. I should just continue. I continued for some time and I now discovered that I can come to the stadium and run around the stadium 10 times before I stop. I discovered that I am no longer needing to take anti-malarials. In fact, there are many years, especially living under the LLI, I don't need to treat for malaria. So I just discovered that lack of exercise was putting me out of life, you know. So now it is almost compulsory for me that every morning I play 1 hour badminton before I go to work. Almost compulsory. Either I don't do it like today because of my travel arrangement. The next day I feel out of alignment. You know, so exercise is very, very good. And rest. If you have ever gone to bed any night and for any reason you couldn't sleep, any night you go to bed and sleep, you wake up and thank God so very much. Rest is so very refreshing. Now I want to talk about one of the few lessons I learned when I was in Shell. Our manager distributed a book to all of us in the department, which we call the Manifesto Chief. Writing down the things you need to do in the ways you need to do them. So very important in helping you organize your day. But I think above all, like my colleagues have said, as a Christian, you must identify what are your most important priorities. And for me, as a Christian, number one is my relationship with God. That is non-negotiable. I spend a minimum of 1 hour every day doing a personal Bible study. I always tell people that I don't do Bible study to get a message. No. I do Bible study for myself. So much so that, as it has been my experience, many times you are suddenly challenged with the responsibility to give a message. It just comes because it's something you know God has given you over the time. So you must choose what you need to do. One aspect of my life that I'm still battling to do the correct thing is in this ability to say no. Many times I have had to take on things that I now discover that I've overloaded myself, especially the area of meeting the needs of other people, counseling with people. You know that I have now consciously decided that there are things I cannot do. So when you come with it, I'll just tell you, no, I can't do this. Praise the Lord. So it's a battle. We keep refining it every day. We keep improving, and we keep learning to do it better. Hope that the Lord will help us to do it better more and more. Maybe as the interaction goes on, issues we have not mentioned will come up. But let me end by saying, as a family man, I learned something, and that is this work-life balance. I almost missed it at the point with my own children. I was not having a lot of time with them, and I assumed that they should understand. So along the line, my wife called my attention that my son particularly was hurting, that he hardly finds time to talk with me. So I had to deliberately invite him for discussion, not on any topic, just to stay with me. So now we have cultivated this friendship, together, that both of us are enjoying. And from him, it has spilled over to the rest of the children. So much so that if I don't talk with him any day, something must be wrong really if I have not spoken with him. And it is important that we do that. Giving time for your children, giving time for your wife. As a man, that is really number one. As soon as I checked into the hotel here in Calabar, I called her. I have arrived. I checked into the hotel. I think she will break down when I finish now, if I have not called, she will call to know what my program, what it was like. And so you keep pace, and it helps a lot for you to unwind. And I think it's something that we need to encourage. Praise the Lord.
Thank you very much, our panelists, for the discussion. This discussion can continue till tomorrow morning, but for want of time, we don't know if anybody in 5 minutes, we are left with 5 minutes, so maybe we'll take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Anybody with a question maybe directed to any of the speakers, specific. Okay, 1. Any other question? You have a question? Okay, 2. Any other? 3. We have 3 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 minute, sirs, please. We have 5 minutes, so we'll take 1 minute. You direct your question to a specific person or you throw it general. Please, Bawa.
Praise the Lord. Good evening, sirs. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. I'm a medical student, and I want to know, for one who is or who will be deeply emotionally attached to the patient, what would you advise as concerns not being emotionally burnt out, especially in case of frequent loss of patient? And then, how would one, with a sense of or an actual lack of personal accomplishment, work out that state?
Okay, we take all the questions. I think last time Prof. Ogbonnaya presented the talk on the second question.
Thank you very much, panel. My name is Crystal Alpha, CMDA Professional State. It's very easy to say no when you already arrived. Very easy. I'm a resident in UCTH. My boss makes demands of me. I don't know how I can say no. It happened that I need to do it so that I get the approval to sign it for exam. So I don't know how I'm to balance this. Crystal, where are you? Do this, do that, do this, do that. How do I balance this? Is there a way seniors can take this? Train the trainer session, just like it's happening in the National College, the West African College, that, I mean for the rest, that the trainers can also talk to themselves, because you can drive a willing horse to break it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Dr. Ngim can address the third question.
Ogbonnaya from CMDA Prof. Please, my question is to the panelists, the king of tech. Anyone can decide to answer. How do you really learn to say no, especially when it's from their friends? I'm asking that question especially when your hands are filled up, but I mean, there's guilty pangs of not really helping lots of people. I mean, lots of times people meet me, for instance, to help out in something as much as data analysis. I mean, I have the capacity to do it, but my hands are filled to, for pouring, really. So saying no at times is so difficult because the people making the demand really, they're also very, very loved or dear ones that you really don't want to say no. So over the years, how have you learned, or what is the strategy you use in making it easier to say no without a person leaving you hurt? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Chief Diagnosis from Nnenna. I want to thank the panelists for this presentation and briefly make a comment, a question. Considering the workplace factors that will contribute to burnout, as you rightly presented, very well. And also considering that there have been not much studies around here compared to the Western societies, which we accept have better organizational settings. So what do you think that we can do as senior colleagues, maybe those ones in management position, or even we as a body? Because we always talk about the things that contribute to these negative instances in our environment, and we don't seem to be influencing our immediate society enough. I work for the Ministry of Health, and we see a number of issues. I guess most people get into such problem because of combination of government practice and private practice. We've seen doctors that build hospitals and they collapse in the theater where we are trying to even take care of patients. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your very interesting questions. The first question is how do you deal with this emotional exhaustion to the burnout, especially if you lose patience. It's to tell oneself that you have done your best for that patient. If truly you have done your best, this is where following guidelines and practice is very, very important. Many times my wife will come back after eye surgery. She will feel so terrible that maybe there was a complication in theater, not that she feels so upset. Did you enter this theater with the intention to rupture this arm, cause my say no? What could you have done in the circumstances you found yourself that you didn't do? You said no. It's okay. So let's commit it to God. How many times what she feared most at the end turns out to be very good surgery? And there is this joke we play at home. And I will tell you, I have not died before your death. So, do your best in every situation. If it doesn't turn out, not every patient that comes to the hospital will recover. That's the truth. But do your best. That's why we're talking about excellence. If you are not good, then that is when it will be a very serious problem for you. If you lack skill, you must skill up. If you lack skill, you must skill up. There are no two ways about it. You must acquire competence. And it will be a terrible thing for us as CMDA to lack competence. So we must praise the Lord. When you have done your best and you lose a patient, encourage yourself and learn from it. There is something when I was a student that was more frequently done than is done now, and that is autopsy. As clinicians, we know, my pathology teacher usually tell us that pathology is the temple of truth. That it is at autopsy every person learns. If it is something that is being done as it should be, when a patient dies, autopsy should be done. We know what killed that patient, so that all of us will learn and we don't make the mistake. The second question you asked, I didn't quite get it. The sister that asked the question. That's a medical student. There's something you...
Thank you, sir. I asked, how does one with a sense of or an actual lack of personal accomplishment work it out? What should the person do?
Okay. I think I will make a contribution my colleagues will also do. This feeling of personal accomplishment, if you have set out a task to do, then drive it through. A lot of us are not good finishers. You start something, you go halfway, you chicken out. The other thing is that there is no shortcut to hard work. You must achieve in life, you must work hard. Anybody you see that has achieved, go back and study that person. He or she has worked hard. Okay? So if you want to, in your subject area, whatever you are doing, if you will be good, you must work hard. Something happened to me a few years ago when I was a younger lecturer. And I really feel bad now that I'm not working as hard as I used to work. I was doing a manuscript one night, and I've been awake around 3 a.m. I needed something. I was looking for something. I couldn't find it. I sent a text to a colleague, a friend of mine. And my intention was that when he wakes up later that morning, he will see the text and reply my text. As soon as I finished sending that text, he replied me. I was shocked. So I used the information he gave to me. Then I sent back a text to him. I cracked the joke and said, you know the sleep, you cockroach. Then he replied back to me and said, say for your dream, you sent the that left a very deep impression on me. You think you are working hard. There are many people who are also working hard. God told Elijah, stop joking. There are 7,000 men in Israel who have not bowed their knees to bow. So we must work hard. If there is any area in your life you are not measuring up, work hard. If you seek for knowledge, you will get it. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord. I'll just respond to how do you say no. For me, the first thing I'll ask myself is, am I really free? That's the first thing. Am I really free? Can I really, in all honesty, take on this additional task? If I cannot, which a number of times happens, what I do is to, in my head, ask myself, this particular thing this person is asking me to do, is there some other person that I know that can refer him or her to? Maybe there's somebody, of influence that I can say, I can refer the person to that I know would also give the person maybe even a better deal than I would have. So I will do that. However, if I really feel bad and maybe there's nobody who can do it, the question is, what am I going to sacrifice to be able to please this person? So because something has to come down, you know, so what am I willing to sacrifice? Is it another task, which probably is not so urgent? So once I go through that in my mind, then I'm able to. However, if at the end of all this, these questions, I don't get a favorable answer, then I would say no. And if the person is really, really, really my friend, the person should understand that there's nothing I could have done, that my hands were tied. And there are some things that always tell myself, what if I was very sick? What if I was unavailable? Maybe my numbers were off or something. Wouldn't this person find an alternative? And I'm sure the person will. So it means that I'm not indispensable. The person can really help herself or himself. Praise the Lord.
How do I say no? For it can be very. I must say that for a trainer and a trainee, the trainee is expected at all times to say yes. That is true. You are expected at all times to do what? Say yes. That is the first commandment for success at the various exams. My boss, Professor Nnenna, some of you know him. He used to tell people that I have never said no to him. And even till tomorrow, I probably will never still say no to him. When he calls me by my first name. Ogbu, where are you? I say, I am so place, sir. Can I see you by? I'll say, yes, sir. That's all I have to say. Then when I get there, if there are things that will make it difficult for me to do what needs to be done, I can now suggest and say, sir, please, can I call so person to stand in for me? And if your boss knows that you are not a man that is or a woman that is given to excuses every time, the day you say, sir, please, there is something I need to do at this time, he or she will understand. That's it for you. But don't often say no to your teacher. It is wrong. Make the extra effort. Inconvenience yourself and attend to your teacher. That I think you can do. Then if it is a contemporary, it depends on your level of relationship. If it's a contemporary, you can do what Madam has said. But don't say no to your teacher anyhow. It may bring problem to you. Now the other question that somebody probably is into, probably you are in community medicine, if I understand when he was talking about analysis of data analysis. Yes, I will say this to you. You see, in every field, people try to protect what they think is their area of strength. And they think that by not teaching people, they will always come to them for analysis. And I'm also aware that they charge their fellow residents and others to do the analysis. So that's their private practice. While you go to breaks and see patients, I may be wrong, but it's true. Their own private practice is analysis of data. So you pay them for the data. What am I trying to say? If you want to take off some load off you, remember we say teamwork. You must be able to develop people. If a friend of yours says, please, can you do this on SPSS for me? You tell the person, do you have it in your system? He says, yes, I have it. Okay, come, I will show you how to enter the data. That you can do within 10-15 minutes. It won't take much of your time. Rather than sitting down to enter all the data for the person, analyze, and then give him the finished product. You have not helped that person. You have only satisfied yourself. Why am I saying this? When I did my part 2, I'll mention her name because some of you know her, Professor Angela Yoita. She was the one who taught me how to analyze data using EpiInfo, and she was so excellently nice. If I had a problem, she would just tell me, okay, go and do this. Clean up the data, and she'll tell me what she means by cleaning up the data. She'll show me 1 or 2 examples. I will then do the entire data. After that, when it came to the analysis, I'll bring it again to her. I'll call her. Oh, ma, please, where are you? Say, okay, I'm doing something so please meet me there. I will just go open your computer. She still